But it's time now to jump to the August 12th news purge, asking the musical question, as we heard from our intro song, how you going to lift it with your arms folded tight? And, of course, this is posted up on MediaMonarchy.com each week. When we can't cover all the stories, we just put the headlines up, and again, it's all there for you laid out to go research for yourself. We go through it alphabetically, and we'll start with 9/11 updates. We got a couple of bits. First, as this has gone on week after week after week, the mosque meme, the Ground Zero mosque meme. We reported on Pat Robertson suing to stop the Ground Zero mosque last week. But this week, if we jump over to Germany, the German mosque used by 9/11 attackers shut down. This coming from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. It's called the Taiba Mosque now, but it's the mosque formerly known as the Al-Quds Mosque. And you should hop over to historycommons.org to read all about that mosque and Muhammad Atta and how international authorities knew what was going on there back in the 90s. The other bit of 9/11 news is a great video compilation of C-SPAN trying and failing to cover the facts of the official conspiracy theory of 9/11. Caller after caller after caller calling out their establishment guest, who, of course, can't even admit what we all know, and so many of these things are available in mainstream outlets. They're just forgotten. Most, if not all, of the 9/11 commissioners said they felt like they were set up to fail, that they were being stonewalled by the Pentagon. Max Cleland called it a farce or a shame. Firefighters called it the same thing. But we just can't talk about that elephant in the room. We can't talk about the events of 9/11. We can't talk about the blank check that's funding every egregious, illegal, soul-destroying thing going on around the world tacitly in our name. Yeah, there's a new guy with a new face, and he's a little bit smarter, and he's a little bit cuter, and he's a little bit better. But the same agendas go on. If you trace it back, you're going to find the same organizations. Oh, sometimes it's Brzezinski, but sometimes it's Rockefellers and Kissingers. Sometimes it's Halliburton, and sometimes it's the Council of National Policy, or God knows what. Same agendas, same groups, same bloodlines. What did we go over last week? The 12-year-old girl who proved that royal bloodlines, yeah. But you could be president when you grow up. I'm digressing. Let's continue through the news purge and get to the latest biowars and viro health updates. We've lost track now of how many weeks and days since the Gulf oil spill, and still horrific news. If we hop over to digitaljournal.com, scientists say the government Gulf oil spill report is, quote, ludicrous. A new government report suggests oil that reached shore from the Deepwater Horizon spill site and became buried in sand will degrade through natural process, but some scientists are at odds over it, one calling the spill a 3D catastrophe. This report, released last week by National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, called Deepwater Horizon oil budget, what happened to the oil, has drawn the ire for some scientists. The report says the vast majority of the oil that was allowed to contaminate the Gulf of Mexico's disappeared, thanks to robust cleanup efforts and nature's ability to take care of itself. Oh, I guess sometimes nature has the ability to take care of itself, but other times, no, we have to tax you into oblivion because it can't take care of itself. It's all selectively enforced, my friends. We can hit redactednews.blogspot.com for disappearing oil and Gulf seafood. Does it pass the sniff test? Smoke cloud covers Moscow. Authorities warn of radioactive cloud. A good report from thirdage.com, but the most recent bit I could find 3 hours ago from the French agency Press, U.S. sending aid to help Russia firefight effort. Of course, noting how well our relations with Russia have improved ever since Obama came in. And of course, we had the successful terror drills jointly run last week, in this past week, and we're going to reference that. But if we run down to the bottom of the article to give you the breakdown on this Russian nuke cloud, Russian authorities say more than 50 people have died in the fires in the midst of a heat wave described by experts as the worst in the 1,000-year history of the country. Nearly 50,000 people were battling the fires, which on Friday, today, the 13th, were raging dangerously close to Russia's main nuclear research center in Sarov. There have also been fears the fires could stir up particles on land in western Russia still contaminated by the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster. One man-made nuclear environmental catastrophe after another. Funny, though, I don't feel like I've made these catastrophes happen. Funny, though, it somehow always goes back to the military-industrial complex. Funny, though, we never talk about that when we want to talk about the environment. We don't talk about the war machine. Both phony sides of the corrupt, controlled, political left-right paradigm. But now if we get back to the North American Union, if we hop over to Frederick, Maryland, which I have spent a bit of time in and do have a handful of friends from there. Used to go record shopping there and maybe, unfortunately, even get a little bit of Taco Bell. But if we hop to allgov.com, and we do have a video report from the local news there on a cancer cluster near Fort Detrick in Frederick, Maryland.
And 7 is on your side tonight with a health warning for people who live near Fort Detrick in Maryland. Researchers say the soil there may be contaminated, causing health problems for neighbors. Rebecca Cooper is live now with more on this potential danger. Rebecca?
Well, Sinead, some residents of Frederick, whose family members are dying, have teamed up with experts and come to Washington, D.C. to insist that there is contamination at Fort Detrick that is causing deadly cancer clusters.
I believe the people of Frederick needs to know there is a serial killer in their backyard called Fort Detrick.
Randy White says his daughter, wife, and 400 neighbors all got cancer living in Frederick. He insists it's a cancer cluster caused by Agent Orange and other toxins tested or used at Fort Detrick. This is the part of Fort Detrick considered to have the highest levels of contamination. B11 running along Shookstown Road. Bill Krantz spent 76 years on his Shookstown Road family farm. 5 immediate family members got cancer.
I spent an awful hard time there, especially my wife being sick. It's a year and a half of something you never would believe, you know. It caused by something we had no idea was ever going to happen there, because we lived there all my life.
Fort Detrick officials say Agent Orange was used, as well as industrial solvents. Officials are taking steps to clean up the contamination, but admit it's not complete. Along Shookstown Road, where there are many homes, crews digging had no idea there might be possible contamination. Neither did many residents.
They're going to check it. If it's not safe, they're not going to let you drink it.
That makes me a little nervous because I definitely drink from my tap, and if my well is in the contaminated area, that would make me nervous.
Randy White is worried water is just part of the problem and wants a congressional investigation.
I believe the water is a small percentage of what we're talking about. You're talking vapor intrusion where it comes up through the ground. You're talking about our streams, our creeks. Agent Orange is one of the most deadliest chemicals known to man today, and they sprayed the entire area.
Fort Detrick officials are not confirming any cancer clusters, but they are meeting with area residents, and they're checking their records to try and determine exactly how much Agent Orange was used. Meantime, the work continues to try and cover up the contaminated landfills, but Fort Detrick officials acknowledge there is simply no way around some groundwater contamination. Still, Frederick officials insist there is no threat to the community. Reporting live in Northwest D.C., Rebecca Cooper, ABC 7.
So there's no threat, and there's no way around the threat, because hell, what are you going to do? We're the military-industrial complex. We are working very hard to create destructive biological and chemical weapons that can be released on our enemies. If you look at the Project for a New American Century report, we talk about using race-specific bioweapons. Google that, race-specific bioweapons. And just somehow, when these things get out, they trace back to, of course, the only places that have the technological advancements, and I use the term loosely, to create these kind of life-destroying biological and chemical weapons. Oops, there was a drill. Oops, there was a mistake. Oops, there was a lone gunman attack with anthrax, of course, Fort Detrick, and all that. And it relates. Let's Hop on down to Kentucky. Leaking sarin gas rocket discovered at Kentucky Depot. U.S. Army said Tuesday a leaking sarin nerve agent-filled rocket had been discovered during inspections of chemical weapons storage structures at the Bluegrass Army Depot in Kentucky. The low-level agent vapor was confined to the interior of the shipping and firing tube, and no agent blah blah blah. The Kentucky Depot stores 523 tons of mustard blister agent and sarin and VX nerve agent. Chemical disarmament work at the site is projected to end in 2021. I guess on a better note, however, from bioprepwatch.com, Oregon's Umatilla facility passes halfway mark for destroying their chemical weapons over in Eastern Oregon.